Hey all, I just wanted to share with you what Vellum looks like in the art journaling Bible, and I really like it. And so here it is, and it's nice and thin. I just stuck it in with a little bit of washi tape, and it is a little bit see-through. I suppose if I would use some lighter colors for the whole thing, it might be. But you see, it might be more see-through like vellum. But as you see, I'm adding more and more pages from my regular digital Bible journaling in here and highlighting the text underneath. And this is a little bit thicker, and I'm not sure which I like better. I like them both. And I like that this is a full page. I created this especially to stick in here on the vellum, and I'm surprised and happy how readable it is. So I'm wondering if these are great for sticking in my OneNote in the square size, but these look so much better and have so much more room to get information on to stick in here. So I may start doing some of both because I kind of like it.
And so here we are in the full version of Photoshop, and I'm going to show you a little bit how I created this graphic that I stuck into my journaling Bible. Now you can do this in Photoshop Elements. I just happened to open it up in the full version of Photoshop. All the same tools there. The first thing I did was to measure my space in my journaling Bible. Now I think I have the most common size of the journaling Bible, so this may be for you, but I don't know why. I must have did this late at night or something, but it's 5.53 inches in here. I think it's just supposed to be 5.5 by 7.5 inches. Never work while you're tired. I didn't want it to go all the way to the edges. I gave it a little bit of a margin, a little bit of a space. One reason is because up here at the top I knew I was going to adhere it with washi tape, and I needed some room for that. And then on the side where it goes into the binding, I didn't want to close that Bible and have it getting smashed or try to push it all into there. Didn't want to sticking over the edge. It's just safest not to give yourself a headache and give yourself a little bit of a margin, but I did try to measure it so it would cover all of the text that is in the Bible. And so 5.5 by 7.5 is what I came up with. So what you're going to do is File, New, and you're going to make sure that this says inches because I measured it in inches. And then 5.5 and 7.5. Make sure it's 300 resolution and click OK. Now here's your canvas that you're going to be working on. Here is the kit that I used. These three down here are my documents. But Robin Sampson gave me these freebies. I'm not sure if they are in her store packaged like this or not, but they should be. The papers are just fabulous. Let me go ahead and see if I can open one up. Look at the grand textures on them. And this is the paper I used. I really, let's go back the other way. Loved the papers that she did. You see they're grungy, cool, kind of cottage art kind of thing going on. And I may have to just go back and use the other ones. That one's kind of got a marbly effect, pretty leaves, and so on. And here is her store. Her website is Heart of Wisdom, if you want to search for that. But the Did You Scrap Delights is her store on Etsy, and I've got the Bible journaling um, shop section open, and you can see she has some of these kind of fabulous papers in here, various things. It looks like this has got that one paper with the rose in it in here, but I think so. I think she is intending on putting it in the store, or she just gave it to me for this tutorial. But you see, she's got very reasonable prices there too. So that is Robin Sampson. Did You Scrap Delights on Etsy? And she gave me these great products. The washi, the digital washi tape was pretty cool too. And so I want to show you a few tips for creating these full page. Now, I printed mine on vellum. Mine's on printable vellum that I got at the store, and or you could use any paper. I've showed you some 45-pound weight paper that I've been printing my square ones on. I could have done it on that also, but I wanted to play with the vellum to see how it looked. But if you're going a full page like this, your papers are in square traditionally with digital scrapbooking. I'm going to go ahead and pull in a different one of these. So when I pull this in, you're going to see, well, in Photoshop CC, it resizes it down to fit square and makes it a smart object. That's what it does in the full version of Photoshop now. So I've got this empty space. So you've got a number of choices that you can do to stretch your papers. You can simply grab it and stretch it like this. That might be okay, but for me, this particular paper, it kind of messes with the flowers and the pattern. If you have a more solid color paper, that would work. So I'm going to hit Control Z and undo. What I ended up doing with mine, some Photoshop elements and Photoshop require you to hold the Shift key down to keep it proportionate. I don't know why they don't make them all the same, and some do not. So to keep it a proportionate square, toggle your Shift key on and off and play and see what your version of your program does. So I'm having to hold it down right now. And I resized it like this, and I just chose a section that I liked. Personally, I always love the grunginess around the edges, so I would probably either go with this edge or, ooh, look at that fun stuff over there. Kind of depends on where I was going to be putting my elements to. If I center it, I lose kind of some of that. It's personal preference. Depends on the pattern too. So that is my tip there, or I can, whoops, I went too far. Okay, so your other thing that you can do sometimes is to go ahead and hit Control J to duplicate, or you can drag down to the new layer icon to duplicate, or you can right click and choose duplicate. There's always 3 ways to do everything in Photoshop. So now I have 2 of those papers, and I'm just going to kind of move them down, move them up, however you want to do it. Kind of makes a neat crease there in the paper. I might suggest if the pattern, if you can see where the page changes there, you might want to put it on the rule of thirds line, kind of either like that, or what is it, about like that down there. And if you're going to be putting more elements and things out here, that won't matter. So you can also fill that in that way. So I'm going to close out this and go back to the original that I was working on. I did a screenshot of the Bible verse as I've shown you in my previous tutorial, and I've used the eSword Bible application on my computer, and I just get a screenshot of that and paste that in there. This here is a piece of paper from her kit. I think it's the pretty one with all the pretty flowers on it, and I actually changed the blending mode to lighten and lowered the opacity. So you can see here, if I put it on normal and raise it up, it's not quite as pretty. So, I went through the blending modes. That one there doesn't do anything. If you get started on a blending mode, choose one of them. You can use the up and down arrow keys to scroll through to choose one that looks good. And I ended up with the lighten one. Oh, the pin light looks pretty though too. So you just choose one that looks good, and then you can also lower the opacity. That makes it a vellum on vellum, which is kind of cool. That is a tip with that. And then I want to show you this element, if I can find it here. Here it is. I've got it on the multiply blending mode. Let me change it back to normal, and you can see that it actually has white in the middle of it, which if you used it like this, you might add a drop shadow to it. That drop shadow's on the text. Get on the right layer. You might add a drop shadow to it and make it more like a sticker. But I wanted to use it more like I had scribbled and just drew a line around it. So with blending modes, if you use the multiply blending mode on anything that's white, and I have a whole blending mode class on this. I'm not going to explain it here. Go watch the blending mode tutorial on multiply at Hummy's World. But if you use white and a blending mode, the white just disappears. So that's what I did. Multiply, and that took that element that's versatile, that you could use both ways, to make it like I had taken an ink pen and doodled around those words. Now, I'm not sure what, this is her word art. I'm not sure what type of layer styles she used for it. I kind of duplicated it easy, but I didn't work too hard on it to duplicate it to match that. And then I read this verse, and then I had to read the whole chapter or the whole section there to get and I read it and did my Bible study. I just don't make these pages. I like to actually dig deep into God's Word, and so I put my thoughts after reading this on here also. That would be what you might write when you're doing a Bible study and jotting notes down on the side of the Bible. But putting this in there like I did with the vellum, where I could lift it up, allows me to write in the margin or doodle in the margin or whatever I'm going to do later for one of the other verses on that page. I like that, having that versatility where I can add room by creating one of these. But anyway, I thought it turned out pretty good. Now the key for printing, as I shared in the last tutorial, is to do File, Save As, and then choose, I'm going to go in this folder here, choose PDF, Photoshop PDF. And for me, I don't even know why there's layers here. I think you might be able to open it up again and get layers later, but I don't want to make my file any larger. So I undid that and then click to save, and it says it's already exists, but go through and save it. And so the key is to save as PDF, because when you try to print a JPEG, for whatever reason, the programs try to, make them fat and skinny and tall and wide and disproportionate. And if you save it in PDF and print it straight from a PDF, it just seems to work. So those are my little extra notes showing you what I did with this one. It's very simple. I didn't do a whole lot with it, but I appreciate Robin giving me the graphics to play with, and it looks great in my Bible. And I would love to see what yours looks like when you put Vellum into your Bible. So please do share.